Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachare Shatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivajakacha Shtatar Sadashishimad. His Divine Grace Abhayacharana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Vibhiti Phang Naracharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivajakacha Shtatar Sadashishimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंज राधा कुंज गिर गोवर्धन की जय। श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री पुष्टम शेष जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगमाय जमुनामाय की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमद तुलसी देव महारानी की जय। श्री योगदार हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसडेंटल बुक्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। बृहत मृदंग की जय। श्री परमकांताय गौर चंद्र की जय। Srila Prabhupada's 125th appearance anniversary ki jai. Srila Prabhupada 125th appearance anniversary festival ki jai. Samaveda Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premananda. All glories to Samal of devotees. All glories to Samal of devotees. All glories to Samal of devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachade Shatade. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only ways by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet at great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scripture sings of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, please be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over 3 worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. You are the savior of the most fallen. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Parama Karuna, Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra, Jaya Parama Karuna, Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra, Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai.
Jaya
Bharadwajaya Panchaja Jai Shri Shri Paramakarnitai Gaurachandra Ki.
Kiba Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kasho
Kiba Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashopa
Kiba Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashobha
Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashoba
Janavi Tatavane Jagamanaro
Tatavane Jagamanaloba
Dakhine Nitai Chan Mame Gadadhara
Dakene Tai Chan Ame Gadadara
Nikateya Dvaita Srini Vasa Chatradhara
Ekateya Advaita Srini Vasachatada
Boshe Ache Gauracha Ratna Simhasane
Oshe Ache Gauracha
Arati Korena Brahma Hari Devgane
Arate Korena Brahma
शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला
शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे
मधुरा मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला
मधुरा मृदंगा बाजे परम
अहो कोटि चंद्रा जिले वदन उज्ज्वला
बाहो कोटे संजारे बादना
गला देशे बनमाला पोरे झाला माला
काला देशे बना माला कोरे जलमा
शिवा सुख नारदा प्रेमी गदगारा
सेवा सुख नारदा प्रेमे गरदा
भक्ति विनोद देखे पुरारा संपादा नमा विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदन्ता स्वामी नित्य नामिने
कृष्ण कृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नित्य नामिने
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवाणी असत्यारे सतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी सत्यादि सतारिणे
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवसरि गौरा भक्तवृंद
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra Jaya Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra
Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Nitya Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Nitya Gaura Chandra
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura
Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol
Janmastami Vyasa Puja Sadashishimad is a Vangrace Sisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Iskanvibhiti Fangdaracharya is the Vanga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Janmastami Vyasa Puja Sadashishimad is a Vangrace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंज राधा कुंज गिर गोवर्धन की जय। श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमद तुलसी देव महारानी की जय। शुगधर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। Shri Prabhupada's Transcendental Books Distribution Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai, Shri Shri Paramakartai Gaur Chandra Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada's 125th Appearance Anniversary Festival Ki Jai, Samaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, all glories to Assembly of Devotees, all glories to Assembly of Devotees, all glories to Assembly of Devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasingaya Praladadaini Hiranyakashe Purvaksha Shilatanakanakalai Eto Nisingha Parato Nisingha Yato Yato Yamitato Nisingha Bhaini Simha Ridhaini Simha Narasingamarim Sharanam Prapare तव कर कमलवरे नाका अद्भुत श्रृंगार दलित हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंग ईशावरीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे। जय नृसिंह रे जय नृसिंह रे नृसिंह रे जय नृसिंह रे। जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद। श्री नृसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय।
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So everyone can please take their seats. You can please take your seats. You can come a little forward. Come forward a little as much as possible. Srila Prabhupada ki. Shri Shri Paramakana Nitai Gaurachandra ki. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'd like to take this opportunity to formally welcome each and every one of you here this evening. The beginning for quite a treat for over the next 4 or 5 days. It would have been quite an endeavor for all of us and for all the devotees all over the world that are endeavoring to make a grand or a huge, amazing offering to Srila Prabhupada in celebrating Srila Prabhupada's 125th anniversary. Here at the Hare Krishna Study Center, we would have decided that since it's weekend, and Vyasa Puja will be during the week, which is next Tuesday. Therefore, we took the opportunity to organize this 5 days festivity, which means 4 days will be dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. And of course, on Monday, the 30th, is Janmastami. So just to give you a little highlight, that this evening, tomorrow evening, Sunday morning, and Tuesday will be dedicated to Srila Prabhupada, where we will hear from many senior devotees, Prabhupada's disciples, offering that was written out of love and gratitude to Srila Prabhupada by local devotees, by our international devotees, beginning from His Holiness Satsrup Das Goswami, our dear GBC, Veerbahu Maharaj, my dear Guru Maharaj, and many other devotees. So we'll get an opportunity to hear some of those offerings throughout these programs. As we start at 6 this evening, tomorrow evening also will be 6 p.m. Sunday will be 10 a.m. in the morning. And Janmastami Day, of course, will be, you can say, whole day long. With our main programs for Janmastami Day will begin at 4:30 to 6:30, and then again from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in the evening. And devotees, of course, because of the COVID-19 restrictions, devotees may want to stay over here at the temple and attend the midnight artik, and of course continuous kirtan and celebrations, and then be here for Mangal Artik on the 125th anniversary, which is Tuesday, and celebrating the 125th anniversary. We would have announced that due to COVID-19 restrictions, that devotees call and get some confirmation for your visit when you will be coming to the temple for the different programs. Like for example, already we can tell you that Sunday is already booked out, Sunday morning. We already gone beyond the limit of how many persons should gather here in the temple room at one go. So therefore you have, if some of you are seeing us on YouTube, Facebook, or Zoom, and you want to come, you can come now, you can have darshan. Otherwise, tomorrow evening, Monday throughout the day, and for those two special programs in the evening. And then Tuesday for Vyasa Puja is still open. We can take some more devotees. Tuesday within 9:30 to 12:30 will be the actual day for the Vyasa Puja celebrations. The Vyasa Puja book will be offered to Srila Prabhupada. Hopefully we'll have two Vyasa Puja books, the one that was done and produced locally here, and the international one that devotees would have put together. So those are little highlights. They are much more in between. Some amazing videos of Srila Prabhupada will come during these programs. You'll be able to get on a little insights on some of the major work or contribution that Srila Prabhupada would have given to ourselves and the entire world. Especially his books will be highlighted, and so many other activities, Food for Life and book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan, temple worship. All these will be highlighted over the next couple days. So we will say that you're into quite a bit over the next couple days. Please take full advantage of the sessions. If you can be here, if you get the opportunity to be here physically, we will say try to follow all the COVID-19 guidelines as much as you can or is required for you to be here. Otherwise, no offense, you can join us on Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube. On Sunday morning, our part of the program will be live for the first time on eNetworks channel, NCN, and TVG 28. Similarly, on Janmastami Day also, part of the program will be live, and then on Vyasa Puja morning, on Tuesday, will air live on the television. Simultaneously on our live stream platform will still go on. So take full advantage and let us all come together to pour out our hearts, to show our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for all that Prabhupada would have done to each and every one of us. At least Prabhupada coming would have saved us from so much anxiety, and maybe for many of us from so many lower activities, that as soon as we would have come in contact with Srila Prabhupada, our whole life would have, gone, whole existence would have gone on another level. So these are some of a little highlight, little introduction to our program over the next couple days. And we'll hear from Sachisuta Prabhu what will be this evening proceeding. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada 125th anniversary ki.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, Prabhupada Prabhu, for giving us a highlight and also, some of the things that we can look forward for in the next few days as we commemorate Srila Prabhupada's 125th appearance anniversary and also Sri Krishna Janmastami. So for this evening, which will be like the first Prabhupada's night, we have a series of activities lined up. And so I'll just give you some short glimpse of what we can expect. Like already we would have begun the program this evening with worship to Srila Prabhupada, what we'll say Srila Prabhupada's Guru Puja. So that is very important, and it's as part in honoring Srila Prabhupada on a daily basis. And all ISKCON centers, temples, we conduct the Guru Puja Arti. And immediately after, we would have experienced beautiful and wonderful artik to their Lordship Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra. So this evening, to continue, we'll be next on our program, we'll be having a very special item in the form of the video clip. It's a video clip on Srila Prabhupada's. And Hari Kirtan, in the next few days, he'll be enlightening us with these clips from time to time. And this evening, we'd like to humbly request him. So the clip will be on the screen, on the video screen with audio, full video and audio. So we hope that it can be very inspirational, it can be very enlightening for each and every one of us, for us to more and more appreciate and to thank Srila Prabhupada for what he has given to us. So over to Hari Kirtan. Maybe you can introduce the video.
Hare Krishna. So many times we begin our program with Mangala Charana, and so today's program's Mangala Charana will be done by Srila Prabhupada.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Gurta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnava Manshan Sri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathantam Tvam Sajivam Bhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri
been done by Srila Prabhupada, and it's always very auspicious and very important in any activity that we do. We begin with Mangalacharana, offering prayers to the spiritual master or acharyas coming down in disciplic succession from Krishna. So this evening we have also a lot of presentations, a few presentations by disciples, various disciples of Srila Prabhupada, long-standing disciples who would have dedicated their lives and served for many, many years in Krishna consciousness. And we are hoping that His Grace Mahatma Prabhu will be here shortly with us. And then also later on this evening we'll be hearing from His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami Maharaj. So I have not seen Mahatma Prabhu online. Yes, I have not seen Mahatma Prabhu here as yet, but nevertheless we want to welcome to our program His Grace Shesha Prabhu. So His Grace Shesha Prabhu presently resides in Alachua area and has been very closely connected with the devotees here. Previously in the 90s he would have visited Guyana several times, and he has been connected from time to time with the devotees, and he also has served very nicely in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON for many, many years. And we are very fortunate to have Prabhuji in our presence this evening to share with us something about Srila Prabhupada's, his pastimes, his teachings, or even his inspiration from Srila Prabhupada, his personal inspiration, knowing and has been surrendered his life to Srila Prabhupada, has been serving for so many years. We'd like to hand over to His Grace Shesha Prabhu. I do hope he can hear us. So let us all welcome Prabhuji in our usual way of loudly chanting, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna Shesha Prabhu, welcome to our program here at Hare Krishna Study Center. Prabhu, can you please unmute your mic on Zoom? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Shesha Prabhu, can you please unmute your mic, your microphone that's on the Zoom? Sorry, but we cannot hear you. So this unmute button, it's at the bottom of your screen. It's like to the left at the bottom there is a microphone icon. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Prabhu, just give us 1 minute. I think it's from our end. Shesha Prabhu, can you please try to unmute now?
Yes, very good.
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry about that.
No problem. Please accept my humble obeisances. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutala Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Navani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurava Chari Nirvishesha Sundara Prasthaya. Hare Krishna, and love all the devotees from the island. You don't know how much of an honor it is to me to get the contact from Sasmi Sutra Prabhu and asked me to participate in this 125th anniversary program, special program we're doing. It's just it's so important. And that's what the message I want to give you this evening. It's just the importance of milestones like this 125th anniversary. Milestones are like samskaras. They're meant to make deep impressions upon us in our devotional lives. Things that we can remember and take inspiration from for years to come. As I think back, Prabhupada's centennial 25 years ago, now 125th, it's also a encouragement for those older devotees to actually be around to see the 150th anniversary. What a thrill that would be in my life, to be able to be around for that milestone. So thank you so much for allowing me to participate with you this evening. Not only is it good to mark these things for our own enthusiasm, but for Prabhupada's mission, it's crucial. We all know the history of the Gaudiya Math and how just a few years after the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the mission collapsed. The organization that he had hoped would carry the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world crumbled. And so for us to be sitting at this point in the history of ISKCON with a strong international movement, fulfilling Lord Chaitanya's desire and satisfying his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, it's a very, very special thing that we mark this 125th anniversary. You know, in thinking about this, I thought about other sampradayas. And you may recall that 4 years ago, the Ramanuja Sampradaya celebrated the 1000th anniversary of Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya's advent in this world. The 1000th anniversary. So this year, they're celebrating the 1004th anniversary. And what this really means, beyond just the numbers, it means that they're saying, Ramanujacharya is saying, and the leaders of his sampradaya are saying, that each and every one of the millions, at this point, millions of followers of Ramanujacharya have a very active and personal relationship with him. That's why you celebrate anybody's birthday. It's because you have an active relationship with them. We don't celebrate the birthdays of people we don't know. And so as we mount in the years, 125th, 150th, 200, we should all understand that it means that the devotees, past, present, and future, all have a very deep personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And so we should mark that as we go through the days you set aside for this ceremony and Sri Krishna Janmastami. And finally, as far as this dating aspect of my little presentation tonight, I want to say, and I'm happy to say, that this celebration also marks, I guess it's a rather sad one, sad for me that I haven't had your association, but it marks 25 years since I was physically present in Guyana, joining you in your preaching endeavors. And so it's, as I say, it's a little sad that I haven't been able to be there over the past 25 years, but at least we can recognize that and possibly rectify that in the future in some way. so that I again have the physical presence of the Gayana Yatra. So these are all milestones. They're very much part of our spiritual life, and we should celebrate them enthusiastically. So this evening, what I wanted to focus on in my remembrance of Srila Prabhupada and my message to you all, I wanted to focus on a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's a special verse because it's our story, it's our own story, it's the story of each and every one of us. And when we see it in a personal way like that, the Shastra becomes alive. When Chaitanya Charitamrita recites the verse that I'm going to read in a minute, it's meant to be a very personal affair, a very personal instruction to each and every one of us. And so this verse from the Majjhima Lila explains our story, what we were like before we came to Krishna consciousness, and what we were like after we came to Krishna consciousness, and how that change happened. This is how I personally read this verse, and it's a famous verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and indeed our Vaishnava philosophy. So I'm sure you may know it, but I'll read it in Bengali and then the English translation. Then we'll discuss. Chaitanya Charitamrita Majjhima Lila, chapter 19, text 151. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanaji Guru Krishna Pasare Pai Bhakti Lata Beach Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanaji Guru Krishna Pasare Pai Bhakti Lata Beach Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanaji Guru Krishna Pasare Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. Here's Srila Prabhupada's translation. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So dear devotees, I hope you can see, can understand how this verse applies to each and every one of us. What were we doing before we came in contact with the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada? We were simply wandering aimlessly from universe to universe. These words, Brahmanda Brahmite, they indicate to me millions and millions of universes. We know that when Mahavishnu lies down and breathes out, millions of universes come from the pores of his body. So there are millions of universes. For what purpose? Brahmite. For the living entities like you and I to simply wander from one universe to the next, from one situation of life to the next. How? According to our karma. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're rich, sometimes we're poor. Life after life. Dear Prabhus, please understand what this verse is trying to say. It's saying that you and me and all conditioned living entities are simply wasting our time in this material world. Sometimes being glorified, sometimes being blasphemed, wandering from one universe to another. That is our plot. That is our plight. And we should see that very clearly from this. But what happened? Now you're all wonderful devotees of the Lord. What happened? What was the difference? What was the difference? I really like the answer to that question. I like to answer that question because it's the perfect pairing with the wandering of the living entity, because it involves another devotee of the Lord who is also wandering. But his wandering was of a different kind, of a different source. That was the wandering of a pure devotee. Now you may be wondering where I got this idea of wandering, how the pure devotee is wandering. Well, it's not speculation. It's there in the Prem Dwani prayers that we sing to close out all of our spiritual programs of kirtans. You'll recall, as I go through this and point out how the spiritual master, the pure devotee, how Srila Prabhupada was wandering by the description that we find. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajaka Astotra Satta Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The key word that shows that the pure devotee was also wandering, Parvajakacharya. This is the third stage of the four stages of sannyas, Parvajakacharya, which means that the saintly person is described as a wandering mendicant. He's a wandering mendicant. And so we're wandering how? According to our karma, suffering, enjoyment, as is described in the verse. So is Srila Prabhupada, Parvajakacharya, is he also wandering like we are according to our karma? Of course not. He's a wandering mendicant, serving the purpose of the Lord. And he's ready to go anywhere or do anything to satisfy the Supreme Lord's desire. Look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, for instance. After he left home, he was wandering, sometimes staying in the mat with his godbrothers, sometimes staying in Vrindavan, sometimes staying in Mumbai, sometimes in Jhansi. All these places he was going. But for what purpose was he going there? You could say, he was aimlessly wandering, but no, he had a focus, and he went to those places. Wherever he went, he tried to spread the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, from the Lilamrita, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, we understand that Srila Prabhupada was even ready to go to Japan. There was an international religious conference that he somehow or other found out about. And he wrote a whole book called The Light of the Bhagavat just to go and present in Japan. Yes, we knew he was destined to come to the United States, to America, to save all of us first and then the rest of the world. But he was ready to wander anywhere. There's also a strong history of Srila Prabhupada wanting to wander in Trinidad. That was almost the place where he went. And so the place wasn't important. Prabhupada would go anywhere, big or small. But his ardent desire is to serve and satisfy Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so in his wanderings, he accepted the direction of Krishna. There's a very famous lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave in the very early days in San Francisco, where he's talking about his own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and the desire of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to spread Krishna consciousness in the West. And so in that lecture, Prabhupada himself confirms how this wandering nature of the living entity, helplessly wandering in this material nature, finally ends when he or she meets the wandering mendicant, the pure devotee of the Lord, and gets the seed of devotional service. So Prabhupada describes this very beautifully in this talk he was giving about his own spiritual master. And what I'd like to do is read a short few sentences from that talk that describes how we came together, how the wandering living entity, helpless in this material nature, finally gets out. So Prabhupada's talk is as follows. He's talking about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sending Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his life and precepts, to universities and libraries around the world. So he sent one to McGill University in Canada. And so Prabhupada picks up his statement from there. He says, quote, "Fortunately, that year was my birth year, and by Krishna's arrangement, we came in contact. I was born in a different family. My Guru Maharaj was born in a different family. Who knew that I would come to his protection? Who knew that I would come to America? Who knew that you American boys will come to me? These are all Krishna's arrangements. We cannot understand how things are taking place." So we're wandering, and Krishna sends his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, to wander for the purpose of claiming the fallen souls. And somehow or another, what was the verse we read? Kona Bhagavana Jeev. We became most fortunate by Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Beach. Krishna has personally arranged the meeting of each and every one of us. Have faith in these words, dear devotees. Have faith in these words, because they're the words of Shastra. They're the words we're reading directly from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, has not only arranged the direct connection between Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and their mission. He's connected with them by the arrangement of Krishna only, he says here in this talk. And each and every one of us is also connected with Srila Prabhupada by the arrangement of Krishna. How inspiring is it to understand that after millions of births of wasting our time in this material world, wandering from one place to another, we finally have found the answer. Have you ever wondered, dear devotees, how it is that when we meet someone on Sankirtan or any preaching endeavor, and we introduce them to Krishna consciousness, they take it like, oh, this was just what I was looking for. This is just, and they find so much relevant information for them immediately, and they immediately establish a connection. That experience is evidence of Krishna's mercy. It's evidence of Krishna's mercy. Reclaiming our real self. That knowledge was specifically meant for us to attract us in a unique way. This is what the Bhakti-Raka Bij is. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has given to us poor, wandering vagrants have now been dancing devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So dear devotees, as we go into this weekend celebrating the 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, I urge you to try to take it very personally. It's not just an official affair, an official program. It's a way to express our thanks to Srila Prabhupada and to Sri Krishna for very personally reaching out to each and every one of us and saving us from that ocean of misery that we find in one universe or another. So dear devotees, I hope you find some inspiration in these words. As I mentioned at the start, I'm very inspired by the opportunity to see all of you and how you've matured so much in Krishna consciousness. There are some that were there, like Prabhupada Dev was there during the last trip I had to Guyana. Of course, I've seen him in Mayapur over the years. But I'm so happy to see how he's blossomed into such a nice leader. And so I wish all of you wonderful devotees a blessed Janmastami celebration followed by Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. And if I can ever do any service for any of you, please let me know. Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
125th anniversary ki,
Jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So let us put our hands together for His Grace Shesha Prabhu once again. So just a little for your information, His Grace Shesha Prabhu was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1974, and he would have served our society in many, many capacities. He served as temple president for various temples in the US. He also would have begun serving on the GBC body in 1994. Prabhuji also is part of two ministries. ISKCON's Ministry of Educational Development and the Ministry of Justice. So as you can see, His Grace Shesha Prabhu has very keen and important roles as part of our ISKCON society, and we feel very fortunate and very privileged this evening to have his association through his presentation. Specifically, 2 points that inspired me for the few minutes that Prabhu spoke was that he was mentioning that we all have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and he said that everyone previously who are part of ISKCON presently, and many, many persons who will come in contact with Krishna consciousness in the future, they will have a personal direct relationship with Srila Prabhupada. That's the unique position of Srila Prabhupada. And also, he shared that beautiful verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, mentioning and establishing a point of our wandering, the living entities wandering, and Srila Prabhupada's wandering. There's a difference. Srila Prabhupada is coming to save us, to help us to re-establish our relationship with Krishna, to give us a chance to go home back to Godhead. So, Shesha Prabhu, we very much appreciate your time and your presentation to be with us this evening on this first session of Srila Prabhupada's night, Srila Prabhupada's Katha. Thank you once again. So, we'll now continue with one very special bhajan, which will be done by His Grace Hari Kirtan Prabhu. So a brief introduction of this bhajan. It's So this bhajan, it's Krishna Tava Punya Habe Bai. The name of the bhajan is Bhagavan Krishner Pada Padme Pratana, meaning a prayer unto the lotus feet of Krishna. So this bhajan was composed by Srila Prabhupada himself on the Jaladuta, the ship that he came to America with, on September 30, 1965. So just quick highlights. This bhajan glorifies his spiritual master Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and also how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is very dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he's engaged in spreading the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, all over the world. So it also points out that how without the mercy of Krishna, Govinda, and the spiritual master, the guru, it's impossible for one to, to spread Krishna consciousness. So over to Hari Kirtan. So we'll read the translation. O brothers, the Supreme Lord Krishna will bestow virtue upon you, but he will do this only when Srimati Radharani first become pleased with you. This I surely declare to you. Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master, most magnanimous within this universe, who bestows devotion unto Krishna in various places throughout the world.
His desire is very powerful, and thus he is causing the holy name of Lord Gauranga to spread throughout all countries of the Western world, in all cities, towns, and villages on the earth, extending to all the oceans, rivers, streams. Everyone may accept the holy name of Lord Krishna. It's very interesting that Srila Prabhupada says extending to all the oceans. Usually we only think about the land. Srila Prabhupada is also thinking about the oceans. Thus, all directions will be conquered by a flood of transcendental ecstasy, flowing with the excessive mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When all the miserable living entities that have been corrupted by Maya become happy, then the Vaishnava's desire is fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am unworthy to do it, being very fallen and incompetent. That being the case, O Lord Krishna, your mercy is today arising in a befitting manner to make me become worthy, for you are the wisest of all. If you bestow your divine power, then one attains the factual substance, which is service to the spiritual master, and life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes truly satisfied and ultimately receives your association due to good fortune. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsingadev in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 28. Thus, by associating with material desires one after another, I was following the general populace by falling into a blind well full of snakes. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the great sage Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position similar to his own. How could I ever leave his service, the service of your servant? Lord Shri Krishna, you are my eternal companion. Forgetting you, I have suffered the kicking of Maya birth after birth. If today the chance to meet you occurs again, then surely I'll be able to rejoin you. O my dear brother, in your company I will experience great joy once again. Wandering the pastures and fields, I will pass the entire day with you tending the cows. Joking with you and frolicking throughout so many forests of Raja, I will roll upon the ground in spiritual ecstasy. When, oh when, will that day be mine? Today, that remembrance of being with you came to me in a very nice way. Feeling great longing, I called out for you. O Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. O Lord Krishna. O Lord Krishna. I'm pretty sure that's not how Srila Prabhupada was calling out. O Lord Krishna!
O Lord Krishna!
Jai. Only because I am your eternal servant do I desire your association so much. Except for you, I have no other refuge. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna tava punya have bhai.
Krishna tava punya have bhai.
Krishna tava punya
Krishna tava punya have bhai.
He punya koribe jabe Radha Rani kushi have Dhruvayati bole to mata. He punya koribe jabe Radha Rani kushi have Dhruvayati bole to mata. He punya koribe jabe Radha Rani kushi have Dhruvayati bole to mata. He punya koribe jabe Radha Rani kushi have
Dhruvayati bole to mata.
Shri Siddhanta Saraswate Sachisuta Priyati Krishna Sevai Jara Tulana.
Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Sachisuta Priyati Krishna Sevaya Jara Tulana.
Se Mohanta Guru Jagater Madhe Uru Krishna Bhakti Detha Se Mohanta Guru Jagate Madhe Uru Krishna Bhakti Detha Krishna Tava Punya Have Bhai. Tava punya have bhai.
Krishna tava punya have bhai.
Tara icha balavan paschete than than hoye jate gaurangirana.
Tara icha balavan Pashachite dhanan hoy jate gaurangena.
Prithivite nagaradi asamudra nadanadi sakale loy Krishna naam.
Prithivite nagaradi asamudra nadanadi Sakale loy Krishna naam.
Tahale ananda hoy tave hoy digvijay Chaitanyar kripa tishan. Ananda hoy tave hoy digvijay Chaitanyar Maya dushta jata dukhi jagate savasuki Vaishnavera icha purna.
Maya dhushta jata ruke jagate savasuki Vaishnavera purna.
Krishna tava punya have bhai. Krishna যাবে রাধা রানী খুশি হবে ধ্রুবায়াতি বলে তোমাতা পুণ্য করে যাবে রাধা রানী খুশি হবে ধ্রুবায়াতি বলে তোমাতা সে কার্য যে করিবারে আজ্ঞা জারি তিল মোরে যোগ্য নাহি অতি দিনা হীনা
আজ্ঞা জারি দিল মোরে যোগ্য নাহি অতি দিনা হীনা
তাই সে তোমারা কৃপা মাগিতেছি অনুরূপা আজি পুনঃ আজি তুমি সবার প্রবীণা
কাছে তোমার কৃপা মাগিতেছে অনুরূপ আজ তুমি সব প্রবীণা
তোমারা से शक्ति पेले गुरु सेवाय वास्तु मिले जीवन अर्थ करी हो
तुम्हारे शक्ति
गुरु सेवाय वास्तु मिले जीवन अर्थ
जारी हो
से सेवा पायले ताहले सुखी हले तब संग भाग्य ते मिलो से सेवा पायले ताहले सुखी हले
तब संग भाग्य ते मिलो
एवं जन्म निपतितं प्रभवाहि कूपे कामभिकामं मनुया प्रपतं प्रसंगात् त्रिवात्मसात् सुरसिना भगवान् गृहीता सोऽहं नुकतनु विस्मृतो तव भृत्य सेवां कृष्ण तव पुण्यं हवेवा पुण्य हरे ए पुण्य करिबे गवे राधा रानी खुशी हवे ध्रुवयाति बोले तो माता
पुण्य करे जावे
राधा रानी खुशी हवे
ध्रुवायाति बोले तुमथा
তুমি মোর চেরা সাথে বলিয়া মায়া লাতে কায়ছে জন্ম জন্মান্তরে
তুমি মোর চেরা সাথে বলিয়া মায়া লাতে কায়ছে জন্ম জন্মান্তরে
আজি পুনায় সুযোগা যদি হয় যোগা যোগা তবে পারি তুহে মিলিবারে এ সুযোগা যদি হয় যোগা যোগা তবে পারি তুহে মিলিবারে তোমারা মিলানে ভাই আবার সে সুখ পায় গোচারানে গুরি দিন
मिलने भाई आवाज सुख पाए गोचरने गोरी जीवो
कतबाने छूटा छूटे बने काय लूटा पुती से दिन हवे हवे
कतबाने छूटा छूटे बने काय लूटा पुती से दिन कवे हवे
आज से सुविधा ने तुम्हारा स्मरण बेला बारो आश्रदा केला
आज से सुविधा ने तुम्हारा स्मरण बेला बारो आश्रदा केला
আমি তোমার নিত্য দাস তাই করে দাস তুমি বিনা অন্য গতি নাই
আমি তোমার নিত্যাধাস তাই করে দাস তুমি ভিনা অন্য গতি নাই
আমি তোমার নিত্য দাস তাই করে দাস তুমি বিনা অন্য গতি নাই
আমি তোমার নিত্যাধাস তাই করে দাস তুমি ভিনা অন্য গতি নাই
কৃষ্ণ তব পুণ্য হবে ভাই কৃষ্ণ তব পুণ্য হবে ভাই এ পুণ্য করিবে যাবে রাধারানী খুশি হবে ধ্রুবায়াতে বলি তোমার পুণ্য করিবে যাবে রাধারানী খুশি হবে ধ্রুবায়াতে বলি জয় প্রভু পরা প্রভু পরা প্রভু পরা জয় প্রভু পরা
জয় প্রভু পরা জয় প্রভু পরা প্রভু পরা জয় প্রভু
জয়
পরা
জয় প্রভু 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 জয় প্রভু
জয় জয় প্রভু 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 জয় প্রভু
জয় জয় প্রভু 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 জয় প্রভু
জয় জয় প্রভু প্রভু
জয় প্রভু শিল প্রভুপাদ কি শিল প্রভুপাদ কি
জয়
শিল প্রভুপাদ কি
jai. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, Hari Kirtan, for that very inspiring bhajan. So at this point in time, we will be introducing one of our speakers for this evening, continuing. Already we would have heard from His Grace Shisha Prabhu. So at this point in time, we'd like to introduce to you another very outstanding and stalwart disciple of Srila Prabhupada. It is no other than His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj. Hari Bol! So, a brief introduction of Maharaj. His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj was born in the US and he studied nuclear physics at Purdue University. He later moved to Texas, where he would have made contact with the devotees of the Hare Krishna movement. He had life-changing experiences as he went to Panama some years after during his military service. He also attended the 1976 Gaur Purnima festival in Mayapur and was initiated by Srila Prabhupada. Later in the year 1982, Maharaj was awarded the Sannyas order, and his early contribution or service to the society was in the form of administrative services mostly. And later, Maharaj would have given GBC responsibilities to serve countries, various countries in Latin America, South America, and the Caribbean. So Maharaj also has been traveling and preaching for many, many years. And of course, the COVID situation is there, pandemic is there. But Maharaj is also an initiating spiritual master and has many disciples throughout this region. So let's all welcome His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna Maharaj, I hope you can hear me.
Jai, yes, I can hear you fine. Thank you very much. So, first of all, it's as usual, it's a pleasure to be able to address all of you, especially on the occasion. And I'm also very happy to see on this 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance that devotees in Guyana are doing such a wonderful festival. But I also would suggest that every year, at least 1 week ahead of the Janmastami, that you also dedicate some days just to Srila Prabhupada, because his Vyasa Puja comes right after Janmastami. And generally speaking, devotees are very tired. So sometimes it's one of the shortest and short attendance festivals because devotees are simply tired. And so we should make sure that Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja is the most prominent Vyasa Puja in our movement. My personal association with Srila Prabhupada was quite limited as I came to Krishna consciousness much later than many of my god brothers, and I see that Mahatma Prabhu seems like he's a speaker coming up, and so he's had, of course, so much more personal association. But my first encounter with Srila Prabhupada was on the back of on the front, but one particular picture on the back of the BTG, which I received when I was attending the University of Texas, when first time I saw the devotees. And one devotee turned out to be Vishnu Jan Swami, came to my apartment and gave me a BTG. And in that BTG, there was a picture of Srila Prabhupada walking up some stairs. And I just remember so clearly when I saw that picture, I said, I know this person. Where have I met this? Where have I seen this person? Now, probably I had never seen him, at least in this life, but maybe in any life. But I take it as Krishna's inspiration, telling me within the heart, this is reality, and this is the person who will save you. So, being in the army, I wasn't able to visit Srila Prabhupada when he came nearby to Mexico and to Venezuela in 1975. But shortly after, the next year, of course, I was out of the army in 1975, and I collected for myself and my temple president to go to India for the Gaur Purnima festival. And so we arrived, and because he was a prominent senior devotee, many of the devotees were staying on the outer walls, but they allowed me to stay with him right on the same balcony where Srila Prabhupada's room was. We all stayed out on the balcony. And because I had worked in my father's newspaper many years before, and in the army, I had learned how to type competently. Prabhupada's secretary came out and said, does anyone know how to type? And I immediately put up my hand. And so he called me over, and he sat me down, and he said, this will be your place, right very, very near Srila Prabhupada's room. And so they gave me different things to type, like the sannyas mantra for all the sannyasis taking sannyas that year. But the unique opportunity that it afforded me was to be able to, be like 15 feet away from Srila Prabhupada's room. And every opportunity that I got when his secretary or his servant or his guard was not looking, his guards were Achyutananda Swami and Ramananda Swami. But I made friendship with them. They liked me because I was doing some service. And so sometimes I would just sneak up to Srila Prabhupada's window, and out of the corner of the window, I would observe, especially a few times, I observed Srila Prabhupada taking prasadam. And it was so impressive the way Srila Prabhupada would, he would at least, I don't know if every day he did it, but the times that I saw it, he would take everything very expertly, make a little ball of prasadam. But not every time, but many times he would take it and look at it like this. And I could see that, we were eating, but Prabhupada was honoring prasadam. He was seeing Krishna in the form of prasadam. And then he would never touch his fingers. He would just pop it into his mouth. Of course, I couldn't stay there the whole time. Otherwise, I would be detected. So another but every day I would try, sometimes when Srila Prabhupada was speaking with different leaders, I would listen. Sometimes I would look in, sometimes I would just kind of sit below the window and try to listen and understand Srila Prabhupada. One thing I observed very clearly was that Srila Prabhupada, how much attention and how much more attention, more concentration he would put when someone came to give the results of book distribution, or it was a big book distributor, and especially the devotees who were doing the library party, and especially the library party in Eastern Europe, that Srila Prabhupada gave full attention. Some other devotees, of course, other leaders would come, because at that point in time, 1976, basically speaking, to really be able to come and speak with Srila Prabhupada, you had to be a temple president, in charge of a main project, a GBC, a sannyasi. But even amongst those very prominent leaders, with the exception of 3 or 4 of them, when someone would come, especially, I remember some devotees coming and presenting a new printing, Srila Prabhupada they sat there for literally 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Prabhupada would look and congratulate them. And so anyway, it was really instilled and became something very concrete in my heart, how Srila Prabhupada wanted book distribution. Now, I had done some book distribution in the army, and I would visit the Costa Rica temple, so I was doing some book distribution. But after I saw that, I decided that book distribution would be my life and soul. So I requested to speak with Srila Prabhupada. But the secretary said, no, it's not possible. There's too many things. Prabhupada he just can't. He would love to speak with everybody, but he can't. So I considered it my fate that maybe I won't be able to speak to him. And so I was just trying to imbibe as much as I could to understand how will I serve my spiritual master in the best way. And then after a few days, the secretary said, Srila Prabhupada is free, and I mentioned that you've been helping, so yeah, you can see him. I was like practically fainted. And then, being a very pretty new devotee, and at least especially being new in a temple atmosphere, I went in, offered my obeisances, and I sat there, and I had all these questions. I was thinking, if I got to see Srila Prabhupada, I have all these questions. But when I went into that room, it was like, I felt like, Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj before Lord Vishnu. My mind went blank. I didn't know what to say. I felt like anything I say would be foolish. So then after a few seconds, maybe a 20, 30 second, Prabhupada said, so, what is your service? I said, Sankirtan, Srila Prabhupada. And he said, then you must do Sankirtan all your life. And I was so happy to hear that. I just offered obeisances and left. And that was my only personal contact with Srila Prabhupada alone. Then, of course, the festival went on. It was very beautiful. Every day Srila Prabhupada was speaking about from the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, which was, so nectarian and so, for all of us, of course, practically everyone at that point in time lived in a temple, or, if you didn't live directly in the temple, you were fully absorbed in temple activities. And so it was, the classes were so meaningful.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're getting some technical difficulties there, but let's see if Marge is still on. So Marge he got kicked off the meeting, but let's see if he'll rejoin. In the meantime, we can all chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, so it seems as though Marge is having some internet connection problems, but nevertheless, we're going to continue. And in the meantime, Maharaj is coming on. We'd like to humbly request another keynote speaker for tonight's session. It is no other than His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. Hari Bol! So you can put our hands together for His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. So just a short introduction of His Grace. So Mahatma Prabhu has been serving in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON since 1969. So that's quite a number of years. He received both first and second initiation from Srila Prabhupada in 1970 in Los Angeles, California. Prabhuji has served in many capacities, including temple president, Sankirtan leader. He has conducted college preaching and also congregational development. He was the co-director of VIHE, Krishna Fest and Bhagavat Life. Now, Prabhu is more focused on designing and conducting professional workshops and seminars, retreats, both on-site and also on online platforms. As you all can remember, some years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, we were fortunate to have Prabhu's association in Guyana, where he would have conducted Japa retreat sessions in Maikoni, and later on, after some time, he would have done the forgiveness course also. So we were very fortunate to be part of those sessions. He's well known for his wonderful kirtans and bhajans, especially the famous Brahma Samhita recording. And these days, he's regularly conducting online sessions weekly on Facebook. And those sessions are also housed on the YouTube and on his YouTube and SoundCloud platforms. So as you can see, Mahatma Prabhu is a very senior member, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he's also an initiating spiritual master. So let us all welcome His Grace Mahatma Prabhu in our usual way of chanting loudly, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna Mahatma Prabhu, welcome to our program this evening, and over to you.
Guru Prasad Maharaj is back, so I think he should finish first, right? We're in the middle of a story. They were asking me to speak because they didn't know when you were coming back, but I think...
Yes, unfortunately there was a power surge and the modem went off, and then of course it had to restart up again, so I just... would you like me to speak for a couple more minutes?
Yeah, just as long as you want. And then I'll just follow. Whenever you want to stop, I'll follow.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to say. anyway, you know, it was wonderful hearing all these classes on Prahlad Maharaj, because we were all, pretty much all ashram devotees, and it was so inspiring. Unfortunately, I got very sick at the festival, but then we went to Vrindavan, and I got sicker. And this was the time schedule for my initiation. I was so sick that I couldn't even get out of my sleeping bag. And my temple president came in and said, well, I guess you won't be initiated. And I said, no way. Let me die first. No. And so I went to the bathroom as many times as possible before the initiation, took my shower, and almost literally had to crawl up to the ceremony. And one thing I remember when Srila Prabhupada was, he was asking everyone, what are the 4 regulative principles? So I was so nervous. I was sitting there, no meat eating, no gambling, no meat eating, no gambling, you know, going over it. And then the person right before me, Srila Prabhupada, said, what are the 10 offenses? I know, oh no. I'm trying to remember 4 regulative principles. Offenses. So I started going over the 10 offenses. I couldn't remember more than 2. And then I went up there and offered my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. I was just waiting. Prabhupada said, what are the 4 regulative principles? Such a relief. I was so relieved I didn't even hear my name. And so afterwards, devotees told me what my name was. And so that was Vrindavan. And I specifically remember the only morning walk that I partially went on, Srila Prabhupada stopped and moved his cane, asked, there was only a few devotees on that particular walk, and he moved his cane for everybody to go by. And Prabhupada said, mleches. And he pointed to a piece of paper that was on the ground. He said, Brahman means cleanliness. So that just impacted me so much, you know, that, you know, in the military they emphasized cleanliness. My mother emphasized cleanliness. But now when Prabhupada said it, it became a stark reality in my life. Then after that, after Vrindavan, there were also wonderful classes. Prabhupada did come on a few parikrams with us for a few minutes. And then my temple president was chosen with a few devotees to go to some home programs in Delhi. So in Delhi, we were taking prasadam. You know, at that time the temple was a house, and after prasadam we would all take our leaf plates, and the cows would come. Right after prasadam, the cows knew prasadam time. We would give our plates to them. But then Prabhupada called us up. He was on the roof chanting, and he said, "You do not give your remnants to the mother. Mother should eat first." So from that time on, we all got some bananas, and we would wait for the cows to come. We would give the cows the bananas, and then we would take prasad. So that was something very wonderful. On another, when we were in one person's house, Srila Prabhupada looked, you know, in India, as you know, plumbing is not the best, and there was a leaky faucet. And Prabhupada said, "Turn it off." And so the devotee went and tried to turn it, but you couldn't stop the drip. And he said, "Well, Prabhupada, it's not our house." Prabhupada said, "Everything belongs to Krishna." So these were all, although very simple things, they became very deeply ingrained. Not the incident itself, but the consciousness that Srila Prabhupada had about everything belonging to Krishna. And the last thing I want to say, that was pretty much then, after that, we all went back, and that was the last time I was able to see Srila Prabhupada. When he was departing, we all wanted to go, but not all of us could go. And but I just wanted to mention that of all, and I've mentioned this many times, but I always like to mention it, that when Srila Prabhupada, the one thing I consider to be the most valuable lesson that Srila Prabhupada gave us for the continuation of ISKCON is that Srila Prabhupada sacrificed his most cherished activity, which was translating, again and again and again, to make sure that this movement would go on. Even though he implored us, he instructed us, he complained that you have to manage this movement so I can translate these books. Still, this movement was so important to him that he would constantly interrupt himself to make sure that everything was in place, that ISKCON would go on. So we should learn from that determination to have the same determination in our lives, to push on this movement in spite of all the obstacles that can surface. But thank you all very much. Sorry for the interruption. I can't control electricity or things like that. But thank you so much, especially for this wonderful festival. And my obeisances to Mahatma Prabhu, my dear friend.
Hare Krishna, Guru Prasad Maharaj, thank you very much.
My obeisances to you, Maharaj. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedante Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanivari Paschachita Satarine. So as you were reminded, I was in Guyana about 10 years ago. So it's nice to be back, digitally present. And first I want to apologize. I am giving a workshop tomorrow morning that I've never given before, and some people came over and I lost track of time in preparing this workshop. And I didn't surface till around 8 p.m., which was 45 minutes after I was supposed to speak. So I want to apologize for that. I hope it didn't create too much inconvenience. So, is there any particular topic or angle that I'm supposed to speak on? Or it's whatever I'm inspired to speak? Is there like a...
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. So you can speak a little on Srila Prabhupada and, what your experiences, your association with Srila Prabhupada, what inspires you to serve. Yes, along that line.
Okay. Many things inspire us. I think one of the things that was one of our great inspirations was Prabhupada's service, because it was such an example to us, because we were so far behind his level of Krishna consciousness and his level of surrender. And that example was always in front of us. So you might think you're performing some austerity, but with Prabhupada's example in front of you, you realize compared to his austerity, it's not much. And you might think you're advancing, but then compared to Prabhupada's advancement, you realize it's not much. So for all of us, Prabhupada's degree of surrender was one of the strongest impetuses to surrender ourselves. And as we know, Prabhupada often said, you can never repay your spiritual master, so you'll always be in debt. So, we never thought that there could be too much giving, too much surrender, because we always felt in debt and we never felt that we could ever repay it. And so I think for me, that's always been maybe the foundation of my devotional service. It's like if someone has given you everything, like picked you up off the street, you were nothing, you were homeless, you had nothing, and they gave you everything, then naturally you would be indebted to them your entire life. So that's been kind of a constant in my life. And oftentimes when things are difficult, either externally or internal troubles, and there's this feeling that this is too difficult to deal with, or I can't deal with it, I don't want to deal with it. The thing that kept me going, that gave me strength, was that I would just think, what would Prabhupada expect of me? And I would go back to this idea that I owe him everything, so whatever he expects of me, that's the least I can do. So I think much of the inspiration, and more specifically, the determination and strength to continue, was not really my own strength, but it was that relationship, that this is what he wants me to do. And even though I don't feel like it, or even though it may be very difficult, I do it because he wants me to do it. And often in that situation, even though it's difficult, it doesn't feel difficult. It feels more like this is devotion to my Guru. And the difficulties, in a sense, they thicken the taste of that devotion. Because it's difficult, it means that I have an opportunity to show more fidelity, determination, devotion. So then in that sense, the difficulty becomes sweeter. So I often, I'm not the only other, but another aspect that's very strong for me is that Prabhupada's books are like a map back to Godhead, and he's chalked out the map to make it easy for us to read the map, easy for us to traverse the path, take the easiest way. You could say, shown us exactly how you're going to walk on the path, shown us exactly where to turn. Everything is really, really clear. So I feel like Prabhupada, having done that so clearly in his books, that if I don't follow it, in a sense, there's no reason, there's no excuse to not follow, because everything is so clear. And I feel a similar obligation. When a teacher shows you how to do something, then the least you can do in reciprocation with that teacher is do it, because that's why the teacher exists, to help you. So when the teacher's helping you, showing you, here's the map, here's the road, then your reciprocation is to follow it. But the other aspect also is, I often feel that because Prabhupada's made it so clear, if I don't do it, then I'm a first-class fool. Well, here's the path, here's how you traverse it, here's where you turn. And if I don't, I just feel like, what a waste. Prabhupada has given it to me so clearly, and if I don't do it, what kind of fool am I, to, so to speak, turn my back on it. So every time I read Prabhupada's books, he makes everything clear, and so I feel, okay, I know what to do, or here's a problem, here's the solution. Everything's there. If I fail, then I'm just being ungrateful, and I'm being unintelligent and uncontrolled. And I also feel like when Prabhupada gives us all of this, I feel like he expects us. I'm giving you this knowledge, I'm giving you this process, and I expect you to follow it. And so that's always been a foundation for me, that how can I not follow? Because he expects it. He's given it, he's pointed out the way. And this is also how we at least try to pay back Prabhupada. Often I think of the times that I was with Prabhupada and how much that affected me, and how rare it was for any human being on this planet to be with Prabhupada, and just to be with him for a moment. And I probably was, I calculated maybe 100 hours of classes I attended, Prabhupada's classes, because I lived in Los Angeles and he was there for months and months. So to have that opportunity and not take advantage of it is probably the stupidest thing I could do. It's so rare. And so I often think, what do you do when you meet a pure devotee? You definitely don't turn your back on that. You have such an opportunity. He's given you so much. He's inspired you. And then he's counting on you. And that's the other aspect, You do it for yourself. It's just, he's given you everything. Don't be stupid and don't do it. But also, he's given you a movement. And ISKCON is like Prabhupada's baby, and he's turned it over to us. And so, how ungrateful can one be to not try to maintain what Prabhupada has given us? So I always feel like this huge obligation. The Prabhupada has started this movement. I'm his disciple, or we are his grand disciples. And he asked us to at least if you can't expand, he asked us to maintain. So I feel it's my duty, to say the least, to do whatever I can personally, although it may not be that much, but whatever I can do to make this movement better, to make it stronger, to help devotees into my best capacity. If I see things that are going wrong, try to do something. If I see opportunities to make something better, do it. Don't be lazy. Don't try to take life easy and just enjoy ISKCON and just enjoy the Sangha. Of course, that's there. Naturally, we'll enjoy it by serving. But more than that, take the responsibility to do my part to make it better, even though it may not be great, but I think all of us can do something to make it better. And I know definitely that's what Prabhupada wants. That's very clear, not just from me, but from all of us. So I think these are the things that keep me going, and also the remembrances of just being with Prabhupada. It's like when someone has so much affection for you and someone has given so much to you, how could you not serve them? So just remembering, any time I was with Prabhupada and remembering sacrifices he made, because he made them for us, that gives me a lot of strength. That how can I be ungrateful? No, I can't. I have to. I have to reciprocate with that. That's the least I can do. So I feel, I often feel a big obligation to see what I can do to make ISKCON a better place for everybody. And I think we should all think that way. And although sometimes it's difficult, and although sometimes we have to make sacrifices we don't want to make, or we have to make compromises, or we have to learn to get along with people we don't like, I think that's the least we can do to help Srila Prabhupada. So, is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Is that enough? Or too much? Or you want more? Or I don't know. I've lost track of time.
So we're going to take this
I think
much for tonight.
You wanted 15 minutes. Did I go 15 minutes or more or less?
Almost. So Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I think we want to keep the rest for another time. And first of all, I'd like to express thanks and gratitude to His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj for being with us and giving us his association, especially sharing his memories of Srila Prabhupada, being in personal company, the personal association of Srila Prabhupada in his 70s. So thank you very much, Guru Prasad Maharaj, for being with us and being with all the devotees. It's a pleasure, it's an honor for all of us on this occasion of Srila Prabhupada's 125th anniversary to hear from you. Also, we'd like to express thanks to His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. So despite Prabhu has such a packed schedule, he has decided to be on this platform and to share with us. And he would have spoke nicely on what keeps him going in times of difficulties. So I was just thinking, Prabhu is talking about difficulties, and we can estimate that, he would have been in Krishna consciousness for so many years serving, and with thus difficulty still affects him. But it's something for all of us, to inspire all of us that, like he said, that Srila Prabhupada has a child in the form of ISKCON, he has a baby, and each one of us, we have a responsibility, a role to play in taking care of this child of ISKCON, or this baby. So thank you very much, Mahatma Prabhu. Sorry to take you out of your schedule, but it's, for the pleasure of the devotees, we are very happy to have you on this forum this evening, and we do look forward to have you for more sessions in the upcoming future. So we're going to continue with Kirtan. We have been inviting a very special guest. We'll be having concluding Kirtan, and this will be done by one very special personality. Born devotee child, he is born and grew up in Krishna consciousness in Guyana. It is no other than our dear Govinda Prabhu. So Govinda, lovingly called Big Govinda amongst all the boys. So in Guyana, there used to be Big Govinda and Small Govinda. So Govinda Prabhu and his Dharmapatni are visiting us from America, and he's a disciple of His Grace Srila Veerbahu Prabhu. So I'd like to invite Govinda Prabhu to lead us in concluding Kirtan for this evening's session. Hari Bol. So let's all welcome Prabhu. Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. So given that tonight is the first night of celebrating Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, and it's also my first time leading Kirtan in this beautiful temple of Srila Prabhupada. In honor of him, I would like to chant his melody, Srila Prabhupada's melody, which is the first Kirtan he sang when he came to the Western world. And I think this melody is pretty famous, so please chant loudly from your heart. First we're going to do his pranam mantra, and then we will follow with this mantra melody. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharani Niravasesha Sonyavari Asya
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashcharishatarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Bolo
Hare Krishna
Everyone together, loudly.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Everyone together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hari
Krishna,
Bol.
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, bolo 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 bolo, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, one more everybody, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo, Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, from your heart, please, a little louder. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki! Srila Prabhupada 125th anniversary ki! Jai Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada ki! Jai Gaura Premanande!
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Govinda Prabhu, for that very ecstatic kirtan, the famous Srila Prabhupada's tune. So that was very special. So this evening we would like to conclude by once again thank all the devotees who would have joined in this evening, especially on our virtual platforms, and also for the many devotees who are here physically. We very much appreciate your presence, and we hope you were able to imbibe Srila Prabhupada's mood, especially hearing from Srila Prabhupada's disciples such as His Grace Shesha Prabhu, then His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj, His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. So in this way we're going to continue tomorrow evening. Again we will have few of Srila Prabhupada's disciples here on Zoom to speak. We're gonna keep the names as a surprise, so that unless you come here, unless you join in for the program, then you will know what's happening. So we want to keep the momentum going. We want everyone, please encourage your friends, your colleagues, your families to join in as much as possible. So tomorrow we begin at 6 p.m. also. And one item that maybe we didn't get to go through tonight or get into tonight, we're going to have that as well. Like maybe you might have been hearing in the pipeline for the longest while about this Vyasa Puja book of offerings that has been compiled. So hopefully we'll be able to hear hear some readings from that book. As you can see, it's here. It's been offered to Srila Prabhupada. It's completed and it's been offered to Srila Prabhupada. So hopefully tomorrow evening we'll hear in terms of the meaning of Vyasa Puja and some heartfelt offerings from devotees here locally. So once again, we will especially like to thank devotees such as Grace Rajashri Prabhu and so many other senior members who are here from our local yatra. We also like to thank Mataji Joyce Nath, who has been with us throughout the program. Many congregational members are there also joining in. So thank you all very much. And please, for devotees who are here at the temple, there is prasadam for everyone. So thank you all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada 125th anniversary ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we see you tomorrow evening. Jai.